So we're going to be talking about morality today. We're going to be asking some very basic questions about uh, people's understandings of morality. We're going to be this is something a little series I've started calling Everyday Morality.
All right.
Why don't you introduce yourself for us?
My name is Rashad, but most of my friends call me Shaka. I'm 24 years old, and I am a first Q in Shoto Ryu Karate, and I really like anime, so there's that.
Nice. Shaka?
Yeah,
Ooh,
like Shaka Zulu.
you can turn your volume down just a little bit. It's kind of
Okay, apologize.
nope, that's not a problem.
Does that work now?
Yep. Cool. Well, love the karate, love anime. The Shaka's a cool name.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so is in terms of right and wrong, where would you say that you get your understanding of right and wrong from?
I would say I usually get it, like most people from my upbringing. My father was very much taught me the difference between the right thing and the best thing. The
Okay.
best thing being what benefits you, and the right thing being what is the, for lack of a better phrase, as a self-explanatory right thing to do. Like if you're walking and you see someone drop a money clip with $200 on it, the best thing to do would be to keep it for yourself because you just gained $200 that benefits you the most. But the right thing to do would be to tap the guy on the shoulder and say, "Hey, you dropped this."
Gotcha. So you've got a distinction made between something that is beneficial for yourself versus what you perceive to be as a moral obligation.
Yes.
Okay. Do you know where he got that from?
No, and the thought of where he would get the money from probably wouldn't
No, no,
come
no.
to
I
you.
meant where your father got that idea
Um,
from.
no, I don't.
Okay.
I never really sat down and asked him. I don't. He No, I don't really know where he got it from. I just know that's what he
Okay.
taught me.
No, that's perfectly fine. Have you ever sat down and thought about what you feel like is what makes something right or wrong?
I have, and a lot of times what someone would think is the right thing, someone else would disagree on because you've had this whole obligation or this whole debate over people being like, "Oh, people choose right and wrong. It's what you're taught and whatnot." But as cringy as it sounds, actually, it was part of a manga that I read at one point, Ultimo, where they said no matter what religion or what language you're speaking in, there's always words for good and evil, and they always mean relatively the same thing.
Yeah.
So people just out the gate have an understanding 9 times out of 10 of what a right or wrong is.
Yeah. No, I mean that. Oh goodness. Yeah, it's still kind of
Okay, one second. Let me put earbuds
echoing.
in, and that should help. I'll be right back.
Okay. Yeah. So what you're talking about right there is a concept that is present in a lot of different sources. Some people would call it natural morality. Some people would call it, like Christianity would say that the law is written on your heart. It's this understanding that as people we have a rational understanding of what right and wrong is already. And maybe it's not even a rational understanding in the sense that there's some sort of rationale behind it, but that we understand what right and wrong are in and of itself.
Right.
Um, so since that's the case, where do you do you feel like there's something that is like a common denominator between that makes things moral or not moral? What is the guiding principle to you that makes something right or wrong? And just use your own understanding of what right or wrong is, and like I said, there's not really a right or wrong answer here.
I'm a very strong believer in playing devil's advocate and seeing things on a case by case basis,
Uh
but
huh.
there tends to be things that are very much like on base it's wrong to kill people.
Okay.
And then there's the case of people saying, "Okay, well I killed this person to defend myself or defend my family,
Sure.
etc." And then it's like the act of killing was still wrong, but the question follows up, does the reason make it just? Does that justify it? So
Sure.
I think it's less the action itself and more the reasoning behind the action, and
Okay.
also with outcome as well.
Okay. So the reasoning behind intent,
Yeah.
and the consequences involved with whatever that action is.
Hmm.
Okay. So I guess let's talk about each of those things individually.
Yeah.
Um, Intent. What bearing does intent have on the morality of a action for you?
Well, there's plenty of times when someone will go to try to do something, and there's a lot of times when people say, "Oh, they mean well," and things of that nature. So let's say you want to give someone like your wife or something a gift. So you give her flowers. Your
Okay.
intent was to romance your wife, but you accidentally gave her something that she's allergic to,
Okay.
and the consequence of that is now she got sick or about puffed up or something.
Okay.
It's wrong to do that, but again, the intent was pure in a sense. So you
Gotcha. So there
that
was
makes you
no
question.
intent for wrongdoing.
Yeah, there are times when there's intent for wrongdoing, or times when there's bad intentions for good things, such as there are people who will be very kind to people, or they'll tell people what they want to hear, etc. And it's good things that they're doing to make someone feel good about themselves, but the intention is I want to make this person like rely on me or things of that nature,
So something
like
that might
manipulation.
be, yeah, okay, manipulation. All right. Okay. Um, and then let's talk about consequences.
Hmm.
What makes a action good or bad as it relates to its consequences?
Hmm. I honestly can't come up with an answer in words for that
Okay.
at the moment. Honestly.
Okay. Maybe um, I'll ask you some questions to kind of dig a little deeper in that.
All right.
Okay. Let's look at an example. You mentioned killing.
Mm-hmm.
If you kill someone, you said that that's wrong.
Yeah.
Why is it wrong?
It's wrong because when you kill someone, you take away their life, and when you take their life, you also they lose whatever chance they have to do whatever it is. While it also stops them from doing more bad things, there's also a case of something that I always had an argument with my friends, with a old friend of mine. I don't talk to them anymore, but they always said, "Oh, if this person was doing this, that they would kill them." And my response was usually, "No, break them, because they can't learn their lesson if they're dead."
Okay. So that's interesting. So you place value on uh, someone learning their lesson and becoming better.
Yes. However, I have grown up since then. I do realize there are people who just won't learn. There are a lot of people who won't get better or they don't even want to.
Okay. But if it was an option, that's preferable.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, why is it a good thing for people to get better? Is it for themselves or the what they do on the outside? Is it like where is it or both?
A little of both, because I personally feel everyone should always strive to do better, not just be better in certain things, but try to be a better person just a little bit every day, whatever it is that they're
Hmm.
doing. Because, sorry, I always pull back to conversations with friends and whatnot. It's just
No, you're
that's my
fine. I
way.
mean, that's not a big
Yes.
deal.
So, Tom, a friend of mine was talking about how they hated how the world was and how unfair everything is, and I told them,
Yeah.
unless you plan on being a non-corrupt politician or up on the front lines with all of the debating, then the best thing you can do is just be a really good person. So we have one less shady person in the world.
Okay. I mean that's not a bad it's not a bad statement. If everybody acted in that fashion, we'd probably be in a pretty good situation.
Yeah.
And I think that you just kind of touched on something, and I'm gonna dig a little deeper to see what you actually do value. So when we're talking about the individual actions of things, would you say that it is m- the case that the action, like for instance, we'll go back to killing since we seem to be a little bit stuck on that. Um, is the killing in and of itself wrong, or is it wrong because of some sort of additional action, like additional effect on the world?
I feel like the act itself is probably wrong.
Okay, why?
Well, as I said before, if you take away a life, then they lose their chance to do whatever it is that they wanting to do or whatever it is that they could potentially do.
Okay, okay,
However,
go ahead.
if it's someone who is like just straight up like, I'm going to kill you and all your family, and then they're gone, then you just saved everyone's life to sacrifice that one.
Sure, 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 sure. Okay, so no, this is not me saying gotcha or anything. I'm trying to understand. So on the one hand, you said that it seems to be wrong in and of itself, but when asked about it, you appealed to consequences. If the person is a good person, they will not be able to do the things that they want to do that that are good. If this person is a bad person and you kill them, then they would be not continue to do bad things. Um,
Right.
so it seems like your value might actually be more in the realm of further consequences.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I see.
Okay. So, all right. So let's get away from that for a minute because sometimes changing
Yeah. Yeah,
topics will allow us
don't
to
want
be
to
able
stay on
to
the same topic for too long.
yeah, sometimes changing topics will allow us to be able to dig a little deeper into the value system itself. So let's talk about stealing.
Hmm.
Okay. So is it wrong to steal?
Inherently, yeah, it's wrong to steal.
Okay. When you say inherently, what do you mean?
I say inherently, as in, if something doesn't belong to you, you shouldn't just up and take it. Like, there's a
Okay.
lot of times when people are like, all right, this is mine, I worked for this, or I bought it myself, therefore it's mine, and then someone come in and just take it. That's just blatantly wrong.
Okay. Why is it wrong?
It's wrong because the person who stole it most likely just didn't earn it. As
Okay.
in,
Okay.
yeah, so let's say that,
So what do
hmm,
you mean when you say earn it?
so let's say like money. Nine times out of ten, if someone has some money in their pocket, it's because they went to work and they did their 9 to 5 or whatever, and they got paid.
Sure.
Or maybe they sold something of theirs and that was theirs now. So
Gotcha.
that
So
belongs to them. They earned it one way or another.
they made a willing exchange with another person. Uh,
Yes.
gotcha. So there was collaboration between two moral actors.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, so then someone stealing is wrong because why? Is it because is it because of that I have not I don't want to I'm not trying to like lead you here. I want to understand like exactly
Yeah.
where you're coming from. Um so it's not bad to trade with somebody basically.
Right.
So is stealing bad because it's not functioning on that exchange?
Yeah. It's not functionally exchange because at that point you were just taking something from someone and without offering or agreeing to something prior where they had to work for it or they traded for it and this other person just came in, took it just scot free. There was no in between of it. It's just I stuck my hand in someone's pocket, took their wallet, and
Okay.
now all their stuff is mine. They
Okay.
worked for what I now have.
So what about that situation makes it wrong?
I was gonna come up with a really like intricate answer, but the answers I can come up with are all simple. It's just a case of like it just is, but I want to give an answer more than just
Sure.
it just is.
Sure, sure, sure.
And the most that I can give with that is circling back to it's not like you didn't because if someone earns something, then it's theirs. If someone buys something, then it's theirs. If or if but if someone comes in and just up and takes it, then they have no obligation or right to that specific object.
Okay, so they don't have a right to the object because they didn't put in the work to acquire the object.
Right.
Is putting in the work to steal the object enough? Hello, that's my cat.
Okay.
Is putting in the work to steal the object enough to then, warrant it being mine by right? Because I
Yeah, because that is actually something that did come across my mind as I was explaining the whole effort aspect. Because you did sit down and put an effort to steal it, but I feel like in that sense, only you benefit from that.
okay,
Because even back, but way back when before currency was a thing, the barter system, I give you a cow, you give me three pigs,
sure,
so it's fair. It's there's the balance system where it's fair because both people gain from that. However, if something steals something, only one person gains from that.
okay. And why is it bad that only one person gains from that?
Hmm. This make me think a lot more than it would. All right, so I feel like it's wrong when only one person gains from it because it not only does one person gain from it, the other person is then straight up only hurt by it.
Okay, so there's something uh, wrong with harm.
Yeah,
Okay,
you just not physically, but you did like one person is to gain whatever it is they took, but the other person that just got stolen from, all they did was just lose it. There was no compensation for it, so there's a very heavy imbalance of that action.
okay. So is it let's see here. Is it that there's no balance, or is it that there's no, or is it that someone was harmed that makes it wrong?
I feel like the thing that is more is the lack of the balance.
Okay. So if uh, let's say somebody steals a cow,
Hmm.
and then that person who was stolen had a cow stolen goes and steals three pigs from that other person. Uh, does that now make that even?
Well, they all have those sayings, an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind, and the whole like two wrongs don't make a right thing. I feel like both did something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, they're even now, but it's still a case of if that's something that would have happened regardless, then the two farmers, I'm just going to assume they're farmers.
That's fine.
At that point, they should have just had that exchange in the first place instead of having it to go to that point.
Sure, sure, I understand. So it's would you say that it is more beneficial for them to function in that way, where they
Yeah, it
make
would have
that
been
exchange?
yeah, it would have been more beneficial if they just said, "Hey, I give you a cow for three pigs," and then they agreed on it, and then they just exchanged the animals. Because if one says, "Okay, I'm gonna go steal the cow," and the other guy says, instead of stealing his cow back, he goes and steals three of their pigs. He's like, "All right, now we're even," because at that point, then it's gonna cause it back and forth.
Okay.
Like, oh, he stole three of my pigs, so I'm gonna go steal his rooster or something, and they're just gonna keep having that back and forth
It's some
instead
sort of
of getting
escalation or
yeah, it's gonna escalate rather in this specific situation, or most likely cause an escalation rather than the two just saying, "Hey, I want your cow. I'll offer you three pigs for it."
mm-hmm. Hmm. Okay. Do you feel let's shift gears again. Do you feel like there is a such thing as objective morality? Something
Yes,
that
I do.
is okay, all right. So it is objectively right and wrong, meaning like it's a fact like gravity is a fact
Right.
like two plus two is a fact.
Hmm.
Um, okay, where do we draw that objective morality from? What is the source of that objective morality?
I feel like objective morality usually goes with, as like people would often say, no, that's really dumb. But I think objective morality often goes with what benefits other people around you, because it's
Okay.
just you being kind benefits other people because you were just kind to them, or you being
Okay.
charitable benefits other people. That things is morally well. But there's a lot of times when someone will say that if you do something that benefits yourself, then it's considered selfish. And I don't think that's always morally wrong, but it's usually morally right to do something to benefit someone else.
Okay. So, I feel like we got a little bit off the
I
actual
apologize.
question.
Right, sorry.
Um, no, no, that's fine. It happens all the time. Believe me, that this is how philosophical conversations go. You 3 hours later, you're like, wait, weren't we talking about crap?
All right.
Um, so objective morality.
Mm-hmm.
Let's think about what objective. When I say that something is objective, what does that mean to you?
Objective meaning just people would generally agree on it. Like a punch. People would say objectively, you use your fist for that. Like no one really disagrees with that. That's just an objective
Okay,
thing.
gotcha. So objective in the sense of it being a generally accepted definition.
Yes.
Okay. Can that definition change?
I feel like the definition can change over time. Like a lot of things change over time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Sometimes things change rather quickly, just depending on people using it or moving on as whatever. Like I can't think of anything off the top of my head right
No,
now.
that's okay. That's okay.
But yeah,
I get the general idea of what you're saying.
yeah.
On that note, if I think about two plus two, does
Hmm.
my opinion of whether or not two plus two equals four have any bearing on whether or not it actually does?
I wouldn't say so because that's another objective thing where two plus two, if you count two times, you get four.
Sure.
Yeah, but if someone
Got,
comes in and says two plus two is five, and everyone says, "Hey, that's factually wrong," but more and more people start saying two plus two equaling five, that would feel the case of is two plus two now five? If the rule
but is
changes
it?
because everyone just agrees. I would factually say no, because if everyone sits down and says gravity doesn't exist, just unanimously, gravity is still there. You're not going to stop it from being there.
So
But just
they
people,
would be at odds with reality.
yes,
Okay. So we can see that that a you know that reality, with gravity and the concept of math, two plus two equaling four, we can see that those things are independent
hmm,
of someone's opinion.
yeah,
Someone's opinion being a subjective thing in the sense that it can change and that it is it is a dependent thing rather than an independent thing.
right,
Things like that is reality and the rules of reality, the laws of the universe, the all that stuff. Those are objective things in the sense that they are independent
right,
of whether or not we think about them. You know what I mean?
hmm,
Like we observe them, and sometimes our opinions change of them, but they themselves are whatever they are. This rule applies even if I don't understand it, and I
hmm,
understand it better over time. But that just because I understand it maybe not perfectly doesn't mean that it doesn't function perfectly. Does that make sense?
yes.
Gotcha. So since we've sort of understood the difference between subjective and objective, would you say that there is a grounds for objective morality?
At the bare bones of it, as much as I want to say yes, because again, the whole good and evil thing, but at the same time, not exactly, because if someone were to say this is right or this is wrong, because people will always have reasons to justify things in
Yeah.
order to make it right. For example, Robin Hood,
Okay.
that whole thing of steal from the rich, give to the poor. He justifies it as these rich people don't need money. I am doing a good thing by taking what they don't need and giving to someone who does need it.
Uh-huh.
But the act of stealing itself is objectively wrong. But the act of what he was doing, serving the good poor, that whole justification kind of circles around on itself. You can't escape
Mm,
the fact that morally and on an objective stance that stealing is wrong. But this
okay.
specific stance is again the consequences. People now the poor now have more to work with, and they can actually struggle a bit less. And the
Sure.
intent was also good. So while the act is objectively not well, again, if you say stealing is wrong, most people would be like, yeah, that's true. But the act and but the consequence and the intention of that kind of encompass it, saying these are good intentions and good consequences of doing a bad thing.
What you're talking about is you have the argument that something is objectively wrong, and you've been appealing to people's general accepting of a definition that it is wrong,
Right.
and so that's sort of similar, but not, because it still has to do how um, with how people are their opinion of it. So what if all of a sudden everyone decided that stealing was not wrong? Like tomorrow, everybody woke up and said stealing is not wrong. What then?
Then it just becomes part of life. It goes less, hey, you shouldn't have done that. That's wrong. It leads more to, you should have hid that better if you didn't want to be stolen, which we still get nowadays where if let's say you get, you have something in your back seat, something valuable in your back seat, and you
Sure.
come back from the store, someone took it, no one will say, oh man, that guy shouldn't have took it. That didn't belong to him. Most people would say, you should have hid it better. You shouldn't just leave it out like that. You
Yeah.
shouldn't do.
Okay.
Yeah, so
And
that would
why do they
happen even more so
wh-
now.
why do they say that?
They say it because while it is wrong, while it is wrong, and people should think, "Hey, I should do that is wrong." It's just as easy for you to be like, "Okay, I know people will do." Like it's like in a driving course. When you were taking a driving course, you are told, "Hey, watch out for these kinds of people because they exist. People who run red lights don't do this." But we always have those people that will speed and run red lights and stuff. Regardless, they will still drive recklessly, despite the fact that we all sat down and watched the same asinine now 9 hour driving videos.
Yeah. So we have a responsibility to protect ourselves from people who would harm us.
Yes.
Gotcha. So if everyone woke up tomorrow and said that stealing was okay, we would essentially be just be saying to everybody else, protect yourself better.
Yes.
Um, gotcha. Okay. Interesting. Um, do you think that so I guess going back to it on that note then is the concept of right or wrong the same sort of thing as um, as like math or gravity or some sort of the rules of the universe, or or are human beings if everybody woke up tomorrow and decided that stealing was okay, um, are we just not if it does it exist and we just don't recognize it?
Sorry, repeat the question one more time.
No, it's okay. So if everybody woke up and decided that stealing was okay,
Hmm.
would it still be wrong to do so? But humanity just wouldn't recognize it as being wrong.
Yeah, I feel like that's because I feel
Okay.
like everyone would just recognize it as no, it's not wrong. We if everyone just wakes up and decides stealing's not wrong, then they would just take things whatever. and if your stuff got stolen, the other person will be consequenced for doing something wrong. You would be punished for not protecting yourself better.
Gotcha, gotcha. So, all right. So, uh, you do think that there is some sort of standard um,
Yeah,
that exists that we essentially we appeal to when we are making a claim of something being right or wrong that is independent of what people think about it.
yeah.
Okay, cool. Uh, where do you think that comes from?
I'm not too sure. I think what it might boil down to is the fact that no one likes being stolen from. And because no one likes being
Okay,
stolen from, no one likes being like no one's going to appreciate someone walking up to you and then just punching you in the face for no reason. So we're always told, "Hey,
sure.
don't do that," because people don't like that. Don't steal from these people because no one enjoys being stolen from. If you
Okay.
go way, way back before laws were a big thing or anything like that, if you stole something from someone without compensating them, they would very much not appreciate it. So then
What would they do?
they would usually try and take it back,
Okay.
or as we said earlier, it would escalate. They'd either take it back from them or demand payment, or they'll
Okay.
go and take payment themselves or something along those lines.
Got you. So the rules of morality um, are based on, in your opinion, right
Mhm.
now, and you can correct me if this is an incorrect assessment. The rules of morality are based on the general things that human beings would like to have happen or not have happen to us.
Yeah, sounds about right. Because
Okay.
that's when we get that whole golden rule that we're all taught in elementary school, where they're saying, "Hey,
Sure.
treat others the way you want to be treated."
Okay. Okay. So golden rule morality sort of thing based, you're
Yeah,
doing uh you're doing good for other people because you would like other people to do good for you. You are
yeah,
not harming people because you would not like people to harm you.
yes.
Okay.
So yeah, that's why it ends up becoming the norm to not go harming people for whatever reason, because no one wants to be harmed most of the time.
Gotcha. Is that objective?
I feel like that is an objective thing
Okay.
because
Why?
I can't name a single person who would sit down and be like, "Yeah, I want someone to steal from me and just take all my money. Just go ahead." Like just like I can't name any. I can't think of that many people that would say, "You know what? I don't think I would care whatsoever if someone just walked up and just punched me in the face and just ran off." You know that this just shake like I don't. I can't really think of that many people that are like that. Most people would be get upset or angry about it or flabbergasted that, hey, this guy punched me in the face, or hey, this person just stole from me. Now I'm upset because they wronged me.
Gotcha. So, um, would you say that the rule exists independently of people? Like, for instance, there's a if you took like the rules of law, like Hammurabi's Code or the Ten Commandments, like don't murder, don't steal, that kind of thing. Are we drawing our moral or objective frame of morality from that, or that some it has been given to us in that way, some sort of authority, or are we drawing our morality from a more natural sense, like it's a recognition of like when we discover uh, math or when we discover scientific principles. In the same fashion, we discover moral principles.
I feel like the authority on it comes from the naturality of it.
Okay, that's interesting. Expand on that for me, if you would.
What I mean is, so we establish 2 + 2 = 4, no matter
Yep.
what it is. Two, and we we say that is the authority on it. We don't change that, and the reason being for that. Same thing with, like you said, the Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments are do not kill, do not steal, don't
Sure.
you love your neighbor, etc. But it's just that those were always rules people more or less followed or try to follow. It's just that it was just then that it was put down in writing.
Okay. So they were already living in that fashion. It was just codified.
Yes. It was just then
Gotcha.
put into words.
Gotcha. Okay. Um, so would you say that as human beings, we become, as a species, we become more moral over time, or are we worse than we used to be?
I feel like our morals are relatively the same
Okay.
over time. It's just that there are times when things get corrupted either way because, as the name implies, absolute power absolutely corrupts that whole deal. So
Mm-hmm.
there are people who will be morally bankrupt and they'll know that something is wrong. It's just that they don't care. And this
Okay.
circles back to the what I said earlier with the right thing versus the best thing. We're gonna go back on the stealing thing. If someone is stealing to make a living, they know that it's wrong. They just don't care because it benefits them. Say they need to steal whatever they need to make their rent. It is morally wrong to do this, but it is the best choice for them. Same thing with, let's say, someone who's a really corrupt, like politician or something. They're doing a lot of stuff that is it's not the right thing to do to hoard off as much as they do or to lie as much as they do. But for them specifically, it is the best option. So I feel like the morals have stayed the same. It's just that sometimes people choose best over right, and what's best for you isn't always best for everyone else. But most
Okay.
people, yeah,
Let's sort of examine a specific, you know, thing, and we'll kind of like, go on that. Like Middle Ages, you
hmm
know, people, there were groups of people who thought, or tribal situations, there are groups of people who think that it is um, a good thing to make war, to conquer, to, you know, to gain those. Like there's no, it's not wrong to do that. Um, in that way, because you'd be very difficult. You'd be in you'd be hard pressed to find anybody today that said that's good.
yeah. There's not many people that will say, "Yep, war is good. We just love that war." But there was a point in time back then, especially with the Nordics, they lived to fight. They loved to go to
Yeah,
war, and that was
yeah, yeah,
their
yeah.
whole culture was evolved around going to war with others, trying to conquer other things.
So was it wrong for them to do that, or because everybody agreed that it was not wrong, it wasn't?
I feel like that would be a part of me knew that this would come up, and I still didn't. I didn't answer then. I don't think I know if I have an answer for that now.
Wait, what specifically about the Vikings?
No, I'm sorry. I just got finished. I'm a huge weeb. I just got finished watching Vinland Saga, but
Oh,
like
I love it.
but
I
like
love Vinland
but
Saga.
yeah, Vinland Saga is great. But yeah, that's why I using the Vikings as example specifically. But like just as what you were talking about, the same thing where they had the old tribesmen days when they were all living for war. They loved to go to war and whatnot. Yeah,
Yeah.
I had a feeling this was gonna come up. I didn't have an answer for it then. I don't know if I have
No,
an
that's
exact
okay.
answer for it now. Um,
Let's think about it in weeb terms. Let's think about let's think about Thorfinn for a second.
yeah,
You know, he lived that life. He was, you know, kill or be killed constantly.
yeah,
But then eventually he gave that up.
yeah.
Um,
Because every time he had visions of his father was like, "Dude, just go home."
yeah, because I mean, you could see his father was that kind of man,
Yeah.
even to his own detriment.
Mm-hmm.
Got him killed. Um, why was he choosing to live that way?
He chose to live that way because that's what he believed to be the right thing. He believed very strongly as No one has
Sure.
any real reason to hurt others.
Okay. Yeah, I
That's what
think
he
I
keeps
th
saying.
I think, you know, in general, um, I think you can make an assumption that he thought that that was the right thing to do. But why did he think it was the right thing to do? Like, in your mind, why did Thorfinn and his father make that decision that that was the right thing to do?
I feel like they were probably because when it was explained through not Thorkel, Thorkel's the tall one. Th- Thor's Taurus. I can't remember the dad's name right now.
That's okay. There's so many similar names.
Yeah, they're all Thor something. Yeah, so let's call him Big Dad. So Big Dad, he was just like Thorkel and the other ones when he was just destroying everyone. But when he saw the chance to escape from it, he did. And I think what turned him around was him seeing his family and having a family, and he realized he wouldn't want them to go out and just fight just to die. So
Okay.
he's
So
wanting
the
there to be less bloodshed.
okay. There's something there. He wants there to be less bloodshed.
Yeah.
Why does he want there to be less bloodshed? You mentioned his family. Is it a self-preservation thing?
I believe it probably is a self preservation because he's thinking to himself, I don't want to lose my family. And he's like, if I feel this way, then I'm sure there are other people who feel they don't want to lose people who they care about over
Gotcha.
essentially nothing or nothing that he deemed important.
But couldn't he just take an idea of like I just have to be better? I just have to be stronger than everybody else, and then you know my family's protected, and I can give them stuff you know from my conquests. Because I mean that's sort of what everybody else was doing anyway.
Well, if he does that, then from his perspective, then he's just adding more to the bloodshed. And then that's another person that has to go home and say, your husband or your father or your brother didn't come back. They died
Well,
in the
what
Valhalla.
what happens when he adds to the bloodshed?
I believe that's just him adding on his conscience. Like he,
Okay. No, but what practically happens when he, shanks a dude in the middle? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
uh, yeah, he kills somebody. What's the practical consequence of that? Like,
he doesn't.
for
Yeah.
not necessarily for him. So let's say you're on a battlefield
Hmm.
and you kill somebody. Somebody sees you kill that person,
Hmm.
and like say it's their brother.
Yeah.
What are they gonna do?
They're of course going to want to avenge their sibling.
Okay. Um, and then let's say that that person kills you, and your, brother-in-law sees that happen. What's he gonna do?
Well, assuming hopefully he liked me enough to want to avenge
Hopefully,
me.
yeah.
Yeah. And that goes back to the whole cow versus the three pigs thing, where it's going to keep going. It's going to keep escalating. That whole I this is probably what the eye for an eye makes a whole blind thing comes from.
So
Where
we're stuck in this cycle.
yes, you get stuck in a big cycle of just violence. People just keep going back and forth. That whole eye for an eye makes a whole world blind. And that's why people say, "Oh, two wrongs don't make a right." Because if you wrong someone, that just means you just did another wrong. But I'm more on the eye for an eye deal because if everyone's going around just stabbing each other's eyes out, then everyone's just blinded at that point. Because
Okay.
and then no one wins.
Sure, no one wins. Okay. I think, if you can, there's a really strong theme of that, obviously, in Vinland Saga,
Hmm.
breaking that cycle. So much so that, like, when Thorfinn is talking to, I don't know if you read the manga.
No, I have not.
Okay, I don't know how far the anime's gone.
I don't. I'm only halfway through the anime myself. I was watching it with some friends.
Okay, never mind. I'm not going to go into that. Let's talk about something you probably already have seen. Naruto.
Yeah,
Um, that concept of breaking the cycle. When he's talking to Pain, and he's like, "Hey, I could kill you," and Payne's like, yeah, are you gonna kill me? And he's like, no, I'm not. I'm gonna break that cycle right now. Um, and there's definitely something there because that prevents that, you know, thing from spiraling out of control because he goes to kill Payne and then you know, the I can't remember the paper lady's name.
Uh, Kona? It
Some
started with a
I
K.
Yeah, you know, then she's gonna want to take revenge. And it's just
Mm-hmm.
back and forth about like, oh, I'm going to take revenge, I'm going to take revenge, and then all kinds of crazy stuff happens. Um, there's definitely uh, that theme there, and I think that we can look at that and see there's something there. What do you feel like? Because obviously it's like the do unto others golden rule kind of mentality that you were talking about. Because
Mm-hmm.
that's what we basically boiled down your value system down to that. I don't want somebody to do something, so I'm not going to. And then, I want good things, so I'm going to do good things, sort of thing.
Right.
Um, in that same way, that breaking that cycle of violence sort of falls into that same concept, right?
Right.
Would you say that?
Yeah, I'd say so because again, like no one appreciates their loved ones being taken from them, and if
Okay.
we're talking about and that's thing specifically.
Okay. Um, all right. So, would you say that the so when okay, all right. We've been talking about leading up till now that the rules seem to you state that there's an objective morality.
Mm-hmm.
There is such thing as objective morality, and that objective morality seems to be based in something as the golden rule, which is based in in human beings' desires to not have bad things done to them,
Right.
and would prefer good things.
Yes.
So um, that seems to be that rule in human interaction. Um, does that build all the other rights and wrongs for you?
I feel like that acts as the base for the rights and wrongs.
Okay, so would you say that's your first principle?
Yeah.
Okay, so that all right. Um, let's see here. All right, let's kind of take a different route. That this just popped into my head. Is suicide wrong?
I would say yes. As someone who has, sorry to make this dark, but someone who has had people commit suicide in their
Hmm.
life, or other people who've attempted made an attempt or two themselves, I
Yeah,
would say that is. I wouldn't say it's morally wrong. People will tell you that it's morally wrong and that it's selfish because you harming yourself causes harm because it's causing harm to other people to see you
sure.
go and to see you like that. Is it wrong to do so? I would say yes. I don't know if saying it morally wrong is correct, but I will say
There,
that it is wrong.
when you say it's wrong versus morally wrong, those are basically the same thing. Like, um, when you make a judgment claim on something and you say that's wrong, what you really mean is that it's morally wrong. If you're trying to make a distinction, is this your previous distinction of versus what's good for you, like practically, versus what's a moral good, like the it's not what's best for you, sort of thing.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's not best for you to commit suicide, but that doesn't mean that it's not wrong, or that doesn't mean that it's wrong.
Somewhere in there, yeah, I believe, because it's definitely
Because
not the best. Because
I
it
can
doesn't
see the
fit.
wheels turning.
Yeah. Yeah. Because like I never like thought because the reason why I always said it was wrong is because, like I said, it's the polar. It's the same side of the same coin where I said why it's subject one to kill someone else as well. Because then, if you have like this problem, you can never overcome or fix it if you off yourself. You can
Because it's
never,
permanent.
yeah, because it's permanent. Because you, let's say someone is like, so because everything went to garbage, and so they're like, I lost everything. You have zero chance to recollect it if you if you're gone. You can't go
Sure,
back and try to build your life back up.
sure,
You can't fix the things that you've done, or you can't make up for things you've done. You can no longer grow as a person
sure.
because you're gone.
Does all of that make suicide morally wrong?
The problem is, I feel like the quote unquote right answer would be to say yes, as much as I want to say no to that.
Nope, that's okay. No, that's fine. If yes is your answer, that's perfectly fine. Why?
Because, like I said, then you just took all that opportunity from yourself. You,
But I mean, but what does that matter? I'm not here to not like to be harmed by it.
hmm, well, yeah, I guess so. Because at that point, you're just like, what does it matter to me if I'm not here anymore? So, hmm, you know what? That one has me stumped a bit.
That's okay.
Hmm,
You know, we ask questions to further understand our own values.
right.
Um, you know, it's just you're digging around trying to find the common threads between each of the things so you can say, you know, I need to understand my own value system, and I also need to understand my own logical thought processes because you can there's plenty of people that believe, you know, something and so, or say they believe something, and then also believe another thing that is in direct contradiction to the thing that they just said that they believed. And they hold both of those beliefs simultaneously, but they never think about it, so you know it never goes anywhere.
They never realized at that moment that, like, oh, I guess this does contradict.
Yeah, there's no consistency in their worldview. So one of the benefits of having conversations like these and talking about our own moral beliefs is it allows us to be a lot more consistent in our actions and in our beliefs. It's okay if you don't have an answer.
Yeah, I
Uh,
don't think I have an answer for that one. I will come back to you when I do, though.
and
I will
honestly,
eventually, yeah, I will
it
eventually
might
have an
change.
answer, and I'll be able to answer it then.
You might you know think about it and go, well, okay, yeah, it is wrong because of this. Or you
Yeah,
might, and then you might later on you might go, no, it's not wrong because this. And that's
yeah,
just it's a gradual refining process of your own ideas.
right.
Um, and I'm doing my best to make sure that I'm not like pressing my personal logical conclusions about morality into this conversation. I really just want to
I
focus
never got
on
that impression, no.
good, good, good. Okay. um, but okay, so cool. We found a spot where you're not sure, and that's good because that allows for growth.
Hmm.
Um, so back to uh, for you specifically, golden rule covers it,
Yeah, that's the general gist of it.
and you think that the golden rule is an objective standard for uh, human morality.
Yeah, like I wouldn't appreciate someone walking up to me and just punching me in the face for no reason. So I'm gonna not go around punching other people's faces for no reason.
Gotcha. Okay. Now there are some people that would still call that subjective morality,
Mhm.
um, because it involves your opinion.
Yeah.
Um, I think I get where you're coming from though when you say objective morality,
Yes.
in the sense that um, there are a, there are facts that emerge when you look at, let's just say, scientific principles or systems that exist, like biological systems, ecologies, that kind of thing. Those things that happen, um, like that we observe. We can say that there are objective facts about those systems uh, just by observation
Hmm.
that we are recognizing that don't necessarily trying to make sure that I'm saying this properly, or to try to give an example. Uh, okay, the social sciences are kind of an example. We understand that when this happens, then this happens with
Yeah.
people.
Hmm.
And because we understand that when this happens, this follows with people because based on their psychology, based on their biology, based on all of the things that make us human and
Hmm.
as a species, because of that, we can formulate a basic rule of human interaction um, as an outside observer. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Would you say that like that's what I'm taking from what you're saying? Um, I don't know if I misinterpreted or not.
All right. Call it back one more time. I'm sorry.
Nope, that's okay. So what I'm taking is, golden rule.
Hmm.
It's you say that's an objective thing. Um, some people would say that it's subjective. But I think I get what you're saying as it being an objective thing because it is a principle that guides um, human beings' interactions with one another. And
Hmm.
as an outside third party observer to humanity, if you were looking at it as like a scientist from an alien species,
Hmm.
you would say that the guiding principle of human beings interacting with each other uh, is based in, you know, the golden rule. Like
Yeah.
uh, in the sense that we appeal to it constantly. We
Hmm.
say, I don't like when you do that to me. I didn't do that to you. How would you feel if somebody did that to you? We appeal
Yeah.
to it constantly just by like understanding it
Yeah.
through interaction. And so if I was an alien watching the human race, I could, through those interactions and listening to what people say this is the guiding principle of human morality.
Yes.
And that principle is objective in the sense that it exists regardless of whether or not um, people accept that it exists because they appeal to it as means it because it just comes about through normal human interaction. It just exists.
Yeah.
Okay, is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, so we did some digging, but
Hmm.
and maybe you already knew that that was your foundational principle.
Yeah.
Um,
You were just able to put it into words for me.
um, so golden rule is your primary value. Like that's what determines morality for you. Cool. So you are the first person that I have had one of these conversations with.
Oh, what a boy! I feel so honored.
Um, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a few more of these. I don't know how many.
Hmm.
And what I'm going to do is just sort of take a tally of what people's basic opinions about morality are and what their base principle of what makes them uh, you know act morally, I guess, or believe that there's morality, because some people don't think that it exists at all.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'd love to talk to those people because then it would you'd be able to have some variation because it's no fun to have the exact same conversation over and over again.
Yeah.
And then so we can kind of see if there's any um, common denominators between people, even if they say that their uh, base moral value is something completely different.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you have any questions or anything that you'd like to say about, morality in general before we get out of here?
No, not really. Not that I can come up with. No.
Cool. This is just sort of an experiment, guys. I'm gonna, I'll probably chop out some of the pieces of this just to be a little bit more streamlined. I hope you enjoyed it. We got Shaka here, help us out. He's our first everyday morality participant. And if you guys have particular opinions about morality and you'd like to be in one of these videos where we talk about your ideas, let me know and we'll see if we can set something up. But thanks very much for watching, guys. And until next time, good luck and train hard.